They're not good for you. We can't call oats gluten-free in Australia.
The power of relationships.
Borders were shut down. There was 340 boats waiting to load freight.
If you can't be respectful, you're off the list.
Fill up the cars, fill up the trailers, everything. It was like a drug run. How do I get more cash into the company? It had to be pure. It had to be to meet these Australian standards. Oh, where's our food from?
Did you ever have a give-up point?
Oh, every year. We can't call it gluten-free. We can't. That's all I could hear was we can't. Someone's bringing drugs into this country and it's not us. My big move was Amazon. The attacks started coming. I was at a family event.
It's amazing how in a heartbeat you can go from on high to I'm the worst person in the world. Hello everyone, my name's Graham Strang. I hope my younger self is listening. Tonight's guest has driven from Highfields to be with us tonight. Kylie, who's the founder of GF Oats, trailblazer in gluten-free foods, leader in regional manufacturing and branding, and has actually brought product placement, which I'm really happy about. If I had this right, you're the largest supplier of gluten-free oats in the Southern Hemisphere.
Correct.
Welcome after that.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a big introduction.
I know. Do you want to get right into it?
Yes, please.
Well, I'm pleased to see that you're a good country girl.
Yeah.
So you grew up near Springsure.
Yeah. So
That's Springsure.
Yeah. So small country town in central Queensland in the mountains. A beautiful spot. Probably didn't appreciate it as a younger child, but my parents owned a grain and cattle property between Springsure and Emerald, and we would say we were 50 kilometres out of town, but 27 miles to the nearest bus stop. So myself as the oldest and my siblings all went to school at the nearest boarding school, which is in Springsure, run by Sisters of Mercy. Who didn't have much mercy, but anyway, yes, we'll move on. And my father actually went to school there, and to date, he's the only one that I know of anyone who's pipped us at the post for the longest in boarding school. He was there for 14 years total by the time he'd done high school as well. So he went as the age of 4 and we went at the age of 6.
No, you got me. I went at the age of 11.
There you go.
He well got me.
Yeah.
But growing up on a property, I find it hard to explain people the freedom of you get to do stuff and you have so much fun. Yeah,
well, we were very isolated, so there was no four-wheel drives back then. We were lucky we had family farms around us like other Martin families, so a lot of the socialisation was just over the back fence. But if it was the rainy season, you couldn't go anywhere. Yeah. So there would be those times during summer where I remember once even getting a food drop from a plane or something like that, because we didn't have even gravel roads. So beautiful, black, rich soil, great for farming, but not for getting
milk. They get bogged in too.
Gets bogged.
I grew up on that soil.
But I think that we really loved the isolation of that. We didn't know any different.
No. And was it much of a shock to the system to go from all that freedom to then the boarding school in town?
Yeah. So it's interesting that you asked that question, because I actually have no memory from the age of 6 to 10.
Oh.
So nothing sinister has happened, I don't believe. But, yeah, that trauma of just going out of the family home. So I had a sister who was 5 years younger than me, so she would have just been a baby. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't remember much of that first few years.
And, well, all I can tell you, when I went at 11, you asked my mother, I think she still got the tear-stained letters from me at 11 going, can I come home?
Yeah.
And funny enough, none of my kids have gone to boarding school because I haven't been interested in them doing it.
Yeah, well, I just did the same as Joe, Monday to Friday. Yep. So sometimes because the rainy season would block them in, Mum and Dad from coming to pick us up, but there was times I can remember they'd try so hard to get us home. There's one quick story where Dad got us to the nearest property, and there he'd parked the Massey Ferguson where my brother and I, normally it would be, say, a 10-minute drive to our house. It was like a couple of hours in the Massey Ferguson to get through all the mud to get home, and then we'd be home and miss school. So, yeah.
Okay, and it's hard to explain that to someone who, say, even lives in Toowoomba.
Yeah.
I can remember missing weeks of boarding school because the 1990 floods.
Yeah.
That was great for me. I missed a couple of weeks at school.
Yeah.
I had a great time. Mum and Dad didn't. They were
You're a young one, aren't you?
Yes, well, the grey hair belies it. Do you have any memories as we are growing up on that property that really stick with you? Is there one that jumps out at you going, yeah, I really wish I could go back to that moment?
Oh, it's Dad had us in the cars at age 6, trying to drive, and we had this little Suzuki, and I could barely hit the pedals, and he'd be trying to get us all. He just had thrown us in to anything at any time, and there wasn't very much he said no to. I remember trying to ride a horse that one of the local ringers had broken in, and he refused to let me ride it, but the ringer who worked for us let me ride it, and I fell off, of course. So then he realised at the end of the day I'd ridden the horse he told me not to. Anyway, just getting in and being hands-on wherever we could, getting in the backs of the Toyotas. The freedom was nothing, but it's nothing really that you can explain to people. It was so much fun, yeah.
Do you take after your mum or your dad?
I take after a little bit of both in different ways. I think my drive is more like Dad, and probably my resilience is more like Mum.
Good answer. Put at each camp, you don't get in trouble that way. So, boarding school, 6 to 10, but you went right through to grade 12?
Yeah, so from there I went to Yeppoon,
Yep.
St Ursula's in Yeppoon. So Mum gave us a choice, and I decided to go near the beach.
Good.
And Catholic education was like where we were going. So so in those days it was 8 to 12.
So how did you go from boarding school, which you hated, to actually in your early days teaching?
Well, on the land in those days, girls don't really be part of the succession plan. So there is a brother. So there's 2 girls and a brother in between. And so we weren't on a huge property as far as that goes. The actual succession was promoted to my brother, and girls generally got married, became teachers, admin or nurses. I hated blood and I liked children, so I decided to become a teacher, and I went for a scholarship at Catholic education again. I look back on it now and go, well, why did I just continue to go back into Cath Ed? But it was what I knew. I was living in a bubble for 12 years. I didn't know any differently, and that was a safe place for me. Even though I always say I was a dog off the leash when I got down to Brisbane and the big smoke, I partied like it was 1985, which it was, and had the best fun of my life, but I was really quite scared. I went and moved with my grandmother's for the first year because I refused to go into the boarding part of the... Yeah, that's right. I went, no way. So I'm living with my grandmother, and then I went out on my own the second year and lived with friends. But it was because I had that scholarship, there was very few offered. Central Queensland were looking for teachers to go back into that area, and that's where I ultimately wanted to go. My heart was in the Central Queensland area, and I was drawn away from school and college, so I wanted to go back.
So you did go back and teach?
Yeah, so I got a position at Emerald and at St. Pat's there, and I did 2 years in Emerald.
So you've gone in this path. What was the bit that said to you that this isn't for me, I need to go and do my own thing?
Well, I in those days, a lot of people, which I was really keen on, and we talk a little bit later about like my love of travel. So I wanted to travel after 2 years, and Cath Ed would let teachers have 12 months off. In between my 2 years where you're sort of doing your P plates as a teacher, they changed the rules. And I said, well, I'm going to go anyway because this was my plan. This was always my big plan, to travel and have a little bit of freedom before I decided where else I was going to go. I didn't really know what else I was going to do, but at the time I met a local gentleman who'd started a helicopter business in Springsure, and that's where my heart dropped at that time. So I ended up marrying him and moved back to Springsure, which I thought was just like the worst thing that the universe had ever done to me at the time. But I had a great time there, and starting a family, working the business, it was fun. And it was hard because I had not done any business subjects at school whatsoever. So I had to learn how to bookkeep and all those sort of things, which I still suck at, by the way.
So did you find the tools that you learned there are in the middle of what helps you with the GF Oats?
Absolutely, yeah. So from there, we continued in business. Like customer service was a big thing for me. Providing a service, I guess, that people kept coming back to and they really needed. That was, I just loved the challenge of all of it. It really was something that I thought, well, I can, be who I want to be, not caught up in working with people or being where I don't want to be, working. So it just, the whole concept of it fitted well.
Isn't it amazing how...
With who I was. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how those bush tricks always still end up in everything you do in daily life?
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
When you walk in our store, that front counter there is my drafting race.
Yes.
Because I push you in the middle of the store so that people can say hello to you.
Yep. And I do it on my website.
Isn't it amazing? I think it's so you can't put a value on those skills. It's a different set to what you learn if you grow up in town.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to divert into GF Oats for a bit because I'm going to bounce around a little.
Yep.
But there's a great line here that says this one email led you to importing gluten-free oats.
Yeah. So I was, just to rewind a little bit to give some concept, all my kids had food intolerances in some way, shape or form, including their father. So I developed this premix with my mother-in-law that I could really make products without, and I did a little recipe book, and I was thinking CWA, you just need a biscuit, you need a cake, you need a bread, something like that. So I had this flour mix on the market. I had started a website in like 1999, 2000, which was very up and coming, and I had to take people's orders, ring them, and then process the credit card over the phone. And I knew about SEO. I had someone who was helping me with all of that. And there was hardly any websites at the time. And this one was called wheatfree.com.au. And out of the blue in 2007, someone emailed me and said, I've just come back from the States and all over the shelves they've got gluten-free oats. Have you heard of it? Do you know where you can get it from? Never heard of it. No, I don't know where you get it from. I did some desktop research and I don't know specifically how I dropped into gluten-free harvest in Wyoming. USA. They were a family of celiacs, and they actually started the project of showing people that oats, if they were grown in an uncontaminated environment and you only processed oats, actually had a different strain of protein to all the other grains that were really contaminating the oats. So the oats were cross-contaminated, and they were growing at a huge pace, and they were just starting to export their product and using a broker to do it. So that's how I imported the first pallet, and the dollar was parity at the time. So I thought, well, I really have nothing to lose, and I was looking for something new in the market. I was looking for a why at the time. I'd not long separated from my husband, and I'm going, what am I doing here? I want to do something new that nobody else is doing. And in my blood is the bush, and in my blood is legacy. So what can I leave behind for the next generation?
And these sort of products amaze me because, so Sarah, who, works on the floor there, she's celiac. Only discovered in the last 18 months off the top of my head. But she's walked around banging her head indoors trying to find something she can eat.
Yeah.
And I actually believe she buys a couple of your products. Yeah. And being told all about, I remember the first batch of the gluten-free bread she brought in that she found from somewhere, and I had a crack at it, and I said, this is like eating cardboard. And she went, yep. And it's taken her months and months of narrowing down her diet with it all.
Yeah.
So you doing that when you were going back 25 years. So everyone's idea of intolerance and tolerance and celiac and everything was probably about that big.
Well, nobody had heard of it, so no one had invited you to dinner because they didn't know what to cook for you.
Yeah.
And everything was wheat-based.
Yeah. And it's how did you navigate that with friends and family who, with all your food intolerances, because as you just said, you wouldn't get invited to dinner. That would have had a roll-on effect on you itself because, that makes, all of a sudden, you're the one sitting over here by yourself.
That's right. Nobody knew. And back then, there was no foods. There was one bread box I think Woolies had in Emerald that you could make the bread from scratch, which is why I started the flour formulas to try and give people those options and developed recipes from it. It's still a developing area where people have to make products that meet the market, and I get a lot of resistance around this, but a lot of the ingredients that are made in gluten-free are there to serve a purpose for those customers, but because you take the gluten out, and then often you take the dairy out, and then the fat of taking the fat out, you end up with products that are soy and corn based, which are all GMO grown these days, all white flour, so no fibre in the diet. You end up with sugar. You end up with other sort of fats, trans fats in there, to give it some taste and to give it some texture. So you actually end up with a range of products on the market. Yeah, they fit the bill.
But they're not particularly good for you.
But they're not good for you. Not good for you at all. So what we've seen over the years and what the growers in the US, because America always seems to be 10 years ahead of us. And in this case, they're 20 years because we haven't approached the subject that we can't call oats gluten-free in Australia. However, there is 5% of celiacs that may react to the protein in the oats. However, 95% can eat them. So they are promoting to introduce the product now to that group. However, for all this time, we've been feeding that group of people really poor food. So now they have diabetes, they have heart problems, they have a range of other health problems that oats can actually help with. Reduce that.
So with all those battles you're having now, I suppose the labelling and this coming into Australia and everything had all its own challenges for you?
That's right, because we decided to bring in the first pallet in the American packaging.
So what year was that?
2009.
2009.
By this. We were all geared to take it to a gluten-free show. I was unaware of this clause in the Australian labels. I don't know. I thought that, these labelling issues were, I guess, an international thing. So I thought, oh, well, if it happened in America, it would just be here.
Fine here, yep.
But it absolutely wasn't. And I was rung up by all the head hitters, the high hitters, saying, you're not bringing that gluten-free oats. It's never going to be called gluten-free in Australia. And I went, oh, holy moly, what have I done? So it took me 12 months to get rid of that. I continued to sell it online. Nobody would buy it in stores. And I thought, gee, still customers were loving it. And, I remember this guy telling me he was so thin, he had nothing decent to eat because he just wouldn't eat corn and soy and all those other flours. And he was putting on weight and doing really well. So every time I felt like giving up, someone would email me and go, I love this product, please keep providing it for us.
My father says a lot, the universe will provide, universe will tell you.
And I go, darn, okay, I've got to keep going. So then I just started to bring it in bulk and play around with labelling. What am I going to do?
And was there someone who helped you sort that out, or you just figured it out yourself?
So great story, actually. I don't know whether you're aware of a product called Cleopatra's bath milk.
No, but I feel like I need to look it up.
So in the milk industry, the food labelling standards force people to pasteurise and homogenise. Well, not so much homogenise, but pasteurise.
Yep.
So you cannot call milk for human grade milk if it's not pasteurised.
Yep.
Because the laws at B have decided that you can't drink unpasteurised milk. You're going to get sick, even though we milked the cows and we drank the milk, whatever. I had kids who had dairy problems, and I found out through a group in America, the Western Price Foundation, if we go back to raw milk, you actually have all the enzymes there that your gut needs to process the milk. Now, all of a sudden I saw this milk on the market called Cleopatra's bath milk, and it had for pet use only. And a bit of digging, I found the solicitor who helped them to brand that product, because we all knew it was just unpasteurised milk. So we just bought it for our kids. And I met with him and he said, well, we threw around a few names, and then one day I was in the shower and I came out and I said to Gary, my partner, I said, I know what we're going to call it. We're going to call it GF Oats Australia, but it's going to be gloriously free oats. Ran it by the solicitor. We went backwards and forwards and decided, yep, let's call it that. And that's been a sticking point for many people.
But isn't it been interesting? Because I know for me, I actually didn't realise it was the Gloriously until we went and did some shirts. I actually thought DGF. There you go.
Well, really back then, we didn't really use acronyms. We didn't have mobile phones.
No.
So God, we're old. But anyway, we didn't use acronyms the way we did today. And of course today it's a challenge because everybody looks at it and says GF is gluten-free, but it really was born out of gloriously free. Thinking, I guess, for the future, how do I communicate to my customers? Because most of my customers aren't celiac. They're intolerant like we were.
So how's it been building a business in Toowoomba that has not only gone to Toowoomba, you've scaled it nationally and globally to a point? How have you gone doing that? Because I know building this on a regional level has nearly killed me some days. You're doing and trying to do it up here. How have you gone with that?
It's been really tough, really tough. You've got to travel interstate. You've got to go to trade shows. Once we started, I was running the business myself pretty much up into 2018 when we went into the warehouse at Maringandan. but I guess you just do one step at a time. So initially it's very good here in the inland route regionally for freight. As soon as we send freight to Brisbane, the freight price increases, pallets get lost, we lose our relationships. So we're both country people, Gary's from Quilpie, and our strongest strength is loyalty and relationships. And it can often be your strongest weakness as well, because sometimes you need to cut and run a lot sooner than what you do.
I know bringing stock into here, so we average between 36 to 60 cartons of stock a day.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know all my drivers, I reckon I'd just about know their colour of their underwear now.
That's right.
You've just got to.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, the second it gets into Brisbane or Sydney, you're ringing the line, they're like, are you the sender or the receiver? Yeah. Doesn't matter. I just need to know where it is.
You're just a number.
Absolutely.
So building it regionally, the strength was that we have such a great community here, and the networking, we've got networks we can link into and we can help people, to solve problems. But we were very cutting edge. I found networking, there wasn't anyone really in this region particularly who was happy to help us anyway, packaging a food and putting it on the shelf. And today there's not a lot really doing it, packaging. There's only a small group. Then we had to start travelling to trade shows. And the biggest trade show we went to in 2016, I remember distinctly, we were so green. I just had those Bunnings tables with like a tablecloth on it.
Hey, like a Bunnings table.
And a backdrop, and I put out all the product we had. I was so stressed and anxious about that. We'd go to the local shops here. They didn't want to. There was only one shop that would take our product on. No one wanted to. And then we had this crowd of people for the whole weekend, 5 layers deep at our stand, and up pops the Toowoomba face. And I went, oh, hi, how you going? I won't say his name. But he just could not believe. So he was the one who had said no to us all this time. And here we were, and he's looking.
There's people everywhere.
And there's people everywhere because no one had heard of the oats. And from there, we just sort of started to grow year on year. We started to bring the organic in. And
so would you call that your sort of moment when things started to click?
It was. It really was. But then we started to meet distributors, and I said to Gary, we need to go to their neck of the woods. So we started the whole, okay, let's bootleg it to South Australia and meet that distributor in his own backyard. Building relationships was really important. Let's go to Melbourne, let's go to Sydney. And that really was such a game changer for us. We pick up the phone. We would do like what I call warm leads marketing. I'd ring up a shop and I'd say, have you got the GF Oats product on your shelf? And they'd say yes or no. Then I could go, okay, yes, is that the blue packet or the green packet, and if they say no, oh, well, we've got customers in your area wanting it. Of course, I didn't know. And I'd just say, oh, you're interested in some information. Can I send you some samples? And that's how we started, just ringing up stores and pretending that we wanted to put them on our distributor list.
Isn't it amazing? The power of relationships.
That's right.
You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have the relationship, it doesn't go anywhere.
That's right.
Did you have a moment where you felt like it all got out of control, like it just went whoosh like this, and then, oh God, this is bigger than Ben-Hur?
I haven't really. Only in COVID that happened. Mm-hmm. But I had done some things prior to that. I'm very strategic, so I have an ability to sort of think about what's that next game-changing move that I need to make up here?
Yeah.
2018, nobody was going to food. Health food was dying. You had Ray Organics close up, a few businesses you would know, because people were just going, you know, to the Aldi's, to the Woolworths, to the Coles. And we decided that we really had to go online. I had a little bit of a website going on, as I had for ages, but I knew that I had to get a store online. So I had launched a brand new Shopify store in January 2020. And then in March, we just saw everything floating out, like racing out the doors as people started to panic buy. And that's when we were like in this world of pain, because we were importing and borders were shut down and countries were shut down. At one stage in LA, there was 340 boats waiting to load freight.
Yep.
So Gary was getting container loads of oats from Melbourne. They were getting dropped in Melbourne instead of Brisbane because it was taking too long, and we'd road freight it up. Of course, in America, they were a few weeks ahead of us, maybe a month. So they couldn't get drivers to get it from Wyoming to LA port. So then we ditched LA and went to Seattle. It was crazy. And that's when I started advertising on Facebook and really getting in front of people. I had a great database, and I'd pre-ordered everything because people were desperate. Like I got on the phones. I had people who went home and never came back into the business because they were too scared. But I got on the phones, and I was the one, saying to people, if you don't calm down and be nice about this, I'll take you off the pre-order list. We've got a container coming. Here it is. I do little video lives showing people where the boats were and all this sort of thing, because we are the brand that you trust. So I had to be out in front of people going, trust me, if you pre-order, you will get your product, because if they didn't pre-order, we had no money coming in.
Yep. And I was watching the videos. I thought they were magnificent because you were communicating to your base. Isn't communication so powerful? And I actually gave you full points because to be brutal, it takes some stones to sit in front of everyone going, it's coming.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to take a deep breath. Because I remember you talking like in one of your videos going, if you can't be respectful, you're off the list. It's just that simple. And me going, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, because everybody was in this heightened state, not knowing, and us included, and the people around us. We're going, well, that's when the business exponentially grew. And of course, the e-com just boomed. So that's when I realised, right, that move of getting the e-com was the right way to go. For the first time, we didn't have a stream of income that we were waiting 30 to 60 days to be paid.
Yep. It was just in the bank.
It was in the bank. And all of a sudden, I had money in my marketing budget, because nobody had given me any marketing budget. So I could start doing Facebook ads and Facebook Lives and really getting the brand out there for recognition. And we also found, what I didn't realise was by doing that, people were also buying in store, because there was still those people who would go to the health food shop. And of course now health food's booming. Absolutely. Because everybody wants to be well again. And that was the place to go. So not only did my lives and my marketing at the time work for the e-com store, it drove people to stores. Once we started bringing the product in bulk, because it was cheaper, we would send the packing straight to Endeavour, because they've got here a beautiful packing facility. Of course, it was only small back then, but I started sending over bags and oats to them, and they've been doing that since 2011, I think, 10 or 11. And we get all the finished product. So that way I don't have to deal with the compliance, because one of my big things is why are we inventing the wheel? Why would we want to build a compliant packing facility when we have one on our doorstep? And it also connected me with community and that feeling of giving people a job of to do that is so valuable in our community, because where else can these people work? And they are the best, the proudest people. You'd go over there and they go, "Are we doing a great job? You know, are we doing everything right for you?" They're just so proud of what they do.
And being amazing as they are, you were telling me a story before how they actually saved your bacon.
Yeah. So during that COVID period, that facility shut down completely.
Yeah.
Everybody went home. They didn't have the ability to keep that particular facility open with the workers, which were generally at risk, I guess. They pulled all the workers, like the managers from the various locations. So they shut down our organic facility at the Gold Coast as well, and they only kept their facility at Wacol going. But they were using all their managerial and all the other staff to just do the packing. So what that meant was that we would have to go from, they would come to us in the morning, pick up the bulk oats, big 50-pound bags, take it down to Endeavour, and then in Brisbane. And then we would come in our cars. We didn't have trucks or anything at that particular point, because remember, like, we were doing a container every 3 months, which was unheard of for us. And we would fill up the cars, fill up the trailers, everything. It was like a drug run at 7:30 at night, because it was winter and freezing, I remember.
So you'd have the
beanies on, the whole thing, gloves. Everybody would be filling up, because these guys wanted to go home. They'd been on the road and down in Brisbane all day. Back we'd go, park it up for the night, and then the next morning we'd take it down to the shed at Maringan, unpack it all, and just do it all the next day.
Crazy. Amazing. And I think everyone's got a COVID story on how they did something to get there.
Yeah, but that lasted several months, because remember, that particular facility didn't open for probably 6 months, and the organic ACO wouldn't let us get it packed at Wacol. There was absolutely nowhere else. And then the local company that was making our Anzac biscuits, their facility shut down, and they happened to be organic certified. So we got the approval to pack all the organic there.
Isn't that cool? Well,
saved our bacon again.
It's amazing hearing the story of the GF Oats and how you've ended up getting in, the twists and the moves. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your brand, the way you've been able to voice it to the world, and the power of networking. You talk about, and I've heard you say it before, about, you work outside the square. You try not to be the so it's like the round peg in a square hole.
Or the purple cow in the paddock, we call it.
The purple cow in the paddock. I don't remember that. In saying that, can you give me an example of something that hasn't gone to plan, and then you've been able to pivot, make it work, and learn out of it?
Yeah, so I've ended up, I guess the biggest story really of this is I've ended up in Queensland Health on many occasions, because as I was playing around with the brand and how I was going to label it, I may have pushed the boundary too far, and people would complain about it, and I'd go into Queensland Health, would have to act on the behalf of whoever complained. And the last time that I went in was particularly very confronting, because they had audios, and it was like we were in a police
You've been caught
interview.
Like you were talking about?
Yeah, and so I was very challenged there. And I knew that I'd gone a bit too far, so I pulled back. And that's when I really went into, like, what are we going to call this brand that is legal? I need some help with this. I reached out to somebody else who was helping them brand a milk product that wasn't pasteurised, and he started to help me, and we worked out, we ended up with gloriously free oats. So that's, I guess, having gone through all of that, we had to pivot. Also, the big pivot move was seeing health food shops not, closing up, and that's where we sold our product.
Yeah.
How am I going to continue? How do I get more cash into the company?
And that's where the online...
And that's where the e-com changed. So these were pivot things that actually worked.
So one thing you've done very well is telling the story of the GF Oats, is be able to, using social media, using your website, using your advertising, you've done a great job of telling that story, especially to the people who this is actually really useful to, and there's plenty of us who actually eat it because it tastes nice. How much work has gone into building the story?
Well, it's who I am. I'm very open, very upfront, and everything that I do is, I've got a story right from the beginning that people, always go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. You were in boarding school and all the rest of it. And I love my country roots so much. Right from the very beginning, I'd gone, I have to be able to develop this product in Australia. I have to be able to find farmers that will grow this product. I couldn't foresee that I would lose the supply one day. However, I did go, I'd love to be able to transition this and have a new industry. And that was my big goal. And in 2016, a farmer started to see our product in Western Australia popping up. And he had been doing the same thing, really, but growing this oats uncontaminated since 2011. We never knew about each other until 2016.
So you sort of found another old hand at the same time.
Correct. And we realised they had to build a facility. So his journey has been about developing the product, what we call a global oats protocol, because it had to be pure. It had to be to meet these Australian standards, which are the strictest in the world.
Funny that, you hear that a lot.
Yes. And we could do it. So that was part of our journey with Kim. So bringing that story, and one of the things we sort of were able to close that gap in COVID was people were starting to finally go, oh, where's our food from? So that's when we started to go, well, let's tell people the behind the scenes stuff, where the products come from, how they're delivered, give them the good, the bad and the ugly at times, and let them become part of the brand. And our farmers in WA are just such incredible people that we really needed to tell that story, because our whole compliance chain is so strict.
And it amazes me the amount of intelligence that has to go into it. Not just you, but your whole supply chain. You have to be right.
Yes.
You don't have middle ground. You don't have, oh, that's all right, that was 92%.
She'll be right, mate. Does not cut it.
I'm trying to find the words to ask you. Did you ever have a give up point?
Oh, every year, I reckon. Or every year. Because the journey's been tough, and we can't sell our product to people who, will manufacture the product, because every time you go to them, they go, when you can call it gluten-free, we'll buy some product. I think 18 and 19 were the hardest years, because we could see prior to that, we just bought in the organic, all the sales were going up. We'd committed to having this shed at Meringandan, and all the sales were dropping. And we had rent to pay, we had staff to pay by then. And we were going, oh, this is just too much. We can't push forward into the markets that we want in the manufacturing sector. We can't call it gluten-free. We can't. That's all I could hear was we can't. And I'm going, I give up. Maybe this is just not where we want to be. And then I guess I looked at, I believe for every problem there is a solution, even if it's a patch-up deal, but the e-com became...
Nothing wrong with some duct tape.
It is. Duct tape is a good thing. But that's where the e-com came in, and what I really have fallen in love with was the e-com, because now we don't get to talk to our customers very often because it's all in shops all around the country. We could start to talk to our customers again. So they were ringing you, they're emailing you, and you're back to that ground roots, knowing that you're providing a service to people that they actually want.
You know, I'm a big proponent of networking.
Yeah.
Like, you build that relationship, build it all out. Did you, like you talked earlier, that sort of support in, especially Toowoomba in the region, wasn't high?
Yeah.
Has that changed?
Well, I love networking. It's part of who I am. My parents were big networkers. What I found was regionally, though, that we were a bit behind.
Yep.
So there was not really anybody great at doing Shopify websites, not particularly anyone who was an expert on XYZ, and I was taking on really cutting-edge technology. I outsourced a lot of stuff, so when I would go out into the community and do the networking, I get asked a lot for free product samples. And I found that I got asked, like, I'd have to face that question all the time. Oh, oats gluten-free. Why can't you call oats gluten-free? So every networking event I went to, it was like I'd gone into this educational piece with everyone, which became a bit exhausting after a while. And I had to sit back and go, like, if I'm going to an event, I need to go there to see who I can help. It's not about me anymore, because really there's not very many food businesses around. No. So that's when I've sort of this past year put a little networking group together where Shopify, we've got products on the market, and we just started to meet and get together because all the other networking events were service-based. So there's a lot of people trying to connect with me and sell me stuff, but not a lot to help me in that field.
Help you sell stuff.
Sell stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of my networking has been both in Toowoomba and out.
Look, and your reputation is good. It precedes you because you've managed to grow both really well. Your normal networking it's almost a product-based networking.
Yes.
But you have talked about networking. You've talked about relationships. You've talked about falling in love. Tell us about Gary.
Oh God, Gary came into the scene. When I was in a pretty bad place. And I'd been running this flower business on my own, and I just found this product in America, and he was somebody who just had gone, he knew absolutely nothing about what I was doing or how to do it, anything, but he just went, I just want what she's having. And he just started to say, oh, I can ring up these buyers. Like, what's annoying you? Oh, I can't stand these, maybe distributors or the buyers, or, I'm too busy. I can't do that bit. And he just jumped in and started building relationships with these people. And then gradually, he'd take over the logistics side of it. So he'd take over because they lost their brokers, and we started working directly with the farmers. So we had to get now we went from pallet loads to container loads. We had to get it off a port to LA. We had to get it cleared in Brisbane. And every time we got there, we'd get pulled aside by, the port authorities. Someone's bringing drugs into this country and it's not us, okay? Every single time we'd get pulled aside. So he just started to go. He was running his own cab service at the time, so he was driving a cab. I also had a second job, so we were all running this and running our own, jobs, JOB at the same time to keep things running. And then in 2018, I said, well, you sell that cab or I get somebody in to do what you're doing. And that's when he came into the business full time.
Well, he's still alive, so that's a start.
Yeah.
I think Teal and I say that about each other on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't killed each other yet.
That's right. But, I mean, it's interesting when you work with someone else because there's always, and particularly, can I say, a man who's old school, and there's always that ego to lead.
Yep.
But I say, look, I'm just better off. I'm better at it. You are great at what you do. Let me do what I do, because prior relationships held me back. And so he's supported me and lifted me up and pushed me out there and go, well, go shine and I'll do all this stuff back here.
He sounds like you both sound like what a lot of relations should be. You back each other on your strengths and your weaknesses.
Correct.
And I keep saying, I know what my Berks are. Tila knows what her Berks are.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone about it today. That's what love's all about.
Yeah.
Is that love is accepting both.
Yes. Yeah.
So, where are you at now? As in GF Oats, have you grown to a point now that you find that Toowoomba takes you seriously?
I think so. I think that I very much like to stay in my own lane and focus on what I'm doing. I like to look out every now and then and go, where can I help people? And that's where I've brought this group together to start. What else can I do with the brand? So I have like a big power move that I do each year. And this year was Amazon, because I'm not in supermarkets, and that's been a strategic move. I've tried to get in, but they've tried to undercut me too much that I'm not going to be earning any money.
No.
So we are very, very passionate about health food, whole food, online. So I say to people, we are absolutely everywhere else except for mainstream supermarkets. We have got somebody pitching it for us. We're in Woolworths in New Zealand,
yep.
And our broker there is pitching into supermarkets. We'll see what that looks like. But my big move was Amazon, and it turns out that we're the first company that I know of in this area. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong. But the only reason I know this is because we were trying to get freight companies to take stock down into Amazon in Sydney, and nobody has an account with Amazon.
All right.
So we are the first ones to start shipping product to Amazon directly.
That's why I love doing this. I just love discovering these things.
Yeah.
Our regional, small and medium, large businesses who are doing things that, people only talk about doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone else who's dealing with Amazon, so I think if someone can correct me, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think you are correct.
Yep.
What's it like dealing with Amazon?
Well, I put in a broker to do it.
Okay.
Because I just went, I am way out of my league. And our family motto is stuff it. We'll do it ourselves.
Yep.
But there's a time and a place. I've turned myself inside out and back the front and nearly done my head in trying to do things myself. And I went, no, I think this is a good move. They have customers coming in their funnel. They're building the biggest warehouse down in Melbourne in the Southern Hemisphere. You can apparently see it from space. They're actually stopping people from putting products on Amazon because they're growing too fast here in Australia. They're huge. And I just started talking to people. Do you buy off Amazon? Do you buy off Amazon? And everybody was saying yes.
I'm an Amazon customer.
Yeah, everyone. But it's taken a while for Australia to adopt. And I went, right, I've got to get online. I've got to get online in winter because that's our biggest season and just be for Prime Day. And I think we actually went live like the week before Prime because I nearly gave up because I said, oh, Jo, it's just too hard. She goes, like, she's a go-getter. She just goes, no, let me handle it. I can do it all.
Go do other things.
She just went and spoke to Nathan at, Land Transport, and we just talked him into giving it a go. We said to Nathan, look, if anything goes wrong, we'll pay for it. And we did it, and it works.
That's great. When you try
Can you believe it? I just saw the orders coming in Prime and went, like, we didn't set the world on fire, but I went, oh my gosh, it's actually, people are buying what we put up there because they're quite different bundles and packages to what we sell anywhere else.
So now we're going to pivot a little and we're going to actually get into probably some of the not so fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. Questions.
You know, a drink of water or tea before we get into that? So running the business in a public eye, as amazing it is, can be not much fun. What's the weight of, I'm going to coin, what's the weight of being the oats lady like?
Really difficult at times. And I think one of the things that take me down the most is trolls online.
Oh, they're bastards, aren't they?
So I had a situation last year which actually nearly broke me because there was some misinformation going around about an article that had appeared in a portal. It hadn't even been published. And somebody had told the Celiac Association, and they put up a post on their page, and they have to be responsible about it, that just started the trolls attacking me, absolutely attacking me. And I knew coming in that they were going to start, promoting people to start eating oats. But it's just that the information's so held back, they're not forthcoming with it. And the attacks started coming. I was at a family event and I just had, I've got, fortunately, people all over the country looking out, and they were messaging me going, oh my God, what's going on? What's happened? And there was nothing I could do. I just felt sick. I couldn't eat all weekend. I was crying. I was a mess. And
Sorry, were they going after your Facebook page, all sorts of things, and just comments and comments and comments and comments? Yeah,
everything. So as fast as my social media girl jumped in and she said, just let me handle it. So Paula was jumping in there and she was unpublishing comments. We have a set of words behind our Facebook that we actually put in as don't publish that comment. And that was working, but there were other things that were coming up and they were going everywhere, like in Messenger and on Facebook and personally attacking. And I've taken screenshots of that. It was one of the worst ones I've ever had. And I pulled myself together by Friday afternoon. And I think I've spoken to you a little bit about, emotional intelligence and personal development. And I went, what's the worst thing that I want to do? What would be the best thing I want to do? Okay, so I'm going to put up a measured post. I'm going to apologise for any confusion. And I actually defended myself. And I got so many of my customers commenting and supporters, friends, cheerleaders over the years all came in. The post went a bit viral. Not talking millions, probably hundreds. But it was that lifted me back up, out of the hole I was digging for myself.
The public eye is a very tricky space.
Yeah.
It's amazing how in a heartbeat you can go from on high to I'm the worst person in the world. It must have been very uplifting for you just to see that wave of support coming in and realising you're just not a bad person.
Absolutely, because people send screenshots to me out of Facebook groups, and do you know what people are saying about you? And they screenshot. Like they literally are very defamatory, horrible things that they want to hurt you because you're selling oats into the community.
And it's so easy for people to just throw off.
And they don't know me.
No. But they wouldn't even know what this is.
No.
They would have read something over here that's 3 steps disconnected.
Well, there's an old narrative about oats, like the information, and it's like, what we knew about COVID back then is superfluous now. It was a bunch of rubbish.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing about standards and laws that change. 1 minute fat's no good for you, and the next minute we should be eating fat. Studies change. People's ideas and thoughts have to change with it.
How have you gone with, you talk about, we're talking about business success and failure, personal success and failure. This whole experience in the middle here, it sounds like you took something that was personally and business that you thought you were failing because everyone was coming after you. It actually turned out to be a win because you actually probably got more trust from people than you realised.
Yeah, it actually did become a win. And then only a few months later, they totally changed their position on oats on their website, which I knew was coming, but they didn't know it was coming. And that's totally flipped on its head now. What people, there's a certain group of people who are never going to buy from us, specifically because I've got GF Oats on the packet. It doesn't matter that they're pure, it doesn't matter the compliance, the effort, they're Australian grown, all the things, banned from their vocabulary. Okay. So that's what I just have to deal with and go, well, I just can't please everybody all of the time. And I know there's people out there, you can go to our website, there's hundreds of testimonials there.
Look, and because all this takes away from you, it draws out of you. I mean, I know I've copped that much compared to you, but I know how much it takes out of you when there's unhappiness and there's negativity and it pulls out of you. We all talk about cups and things and refilling them. How do you refill yours from experiences like this?
I got into hiking because I used to do a lot of like hobbies, like maybe at home when the kids were growing up, but I don't really have any hobbies anymore because I figure once I set something up to do it, I got to keep going till the end. And so it's just a mess otherwise. So I decided to get out. One of the hardest things I think in business today is that we've got to create that balance between indoor and outdoor. We need to get outside. We need to get away from technology. We need to breathe the fresh air. I don't live out in the bush anymore, but I can get out and walk in the bush. And how lucky are we here that we can go north, south, east or west and we've got somewhere where there's potentially no one else walking. You're in the bush on your own. So I got into hiking about 2020 and that's one of the great things that has kept me sane.
Travel?
Yeah, and travel. So I've started to, once I put a team in place, I started to test the boundaries with travel. Gary's not really a travel person, but he's happy for me to go and travel. So I'd generally go with a family or a friend. And so I'd go for a week and then I'd go for 2 weeks and see how they coped. And then I grew from there. So the longest I've been away was 4 weeks last year. And then I just went away for just over 3 weeks this year and did the Camino in Spain. I've got 2 kids who live over in Spain, overseas. So one was in Spain at the time, the other one's in Berlin. So I am drawn to go and visit them when I can.
You talk about you've got people who travel with you and that sort of stuff. So do you have a group of people around you who are part of your team, your tribe, whatever you'd like to call it, but that's that support group that you can lean on?
Yeah.
Good, bad or indifferent?
Yeah, I do. I'm lucky. I've got people not only here in Toowoomba, but friends, all over the country that I keep in touch with. And I'm fortunate to say that, we're lucky if we have a handful of friends we can really rely on. And I'm fortunate I've got that. And at times, they leave their husbands behind and we go off on a trip somewhere.
Come back refreshed.
And we come back refreshed and,
look,
happy wife, happy life. And it's a happy business person as well.
Yeah.
But what it also does, it helps your team grow up. Because, it's an exaggeration, but they're asking you where the toilet paper is, like that. But you know what I mean? Like, you've got to empower people to be able to make those decisions that somebody's got to order the toilet paper for the toilet paper to be in the toilet.
And I know that exactly. We've been through that in the last 12 or 18 months.
So you've got to give those people that ability to be able to run things and make decisions. Now, not always the decisions are going to be exactly what you would have done.
But if the outcome is accomplished, you just deal.
Yeah.
80%.
That's right. Because I'm not a micromanager. That's one thing I really hate. So when we're talking to the team about where you could do this, where you'd solve that problem, if there's holes in the system and we've got a new problem, we need to find somebody. So if you've got that computer problem, you ring that person.
Yep.
Don't tell me about it. Ring them.
Look, and that's where I enjoy this, is because one thing about mental health isn't going away.
Yeah.
I have a line I say repeatedly: small business is not for the faint-hearted. Mm-hmm. It's not only in your team, you have to watch out as yourself. And you've just been talking about refilling your cup. You go back to here about what your experience up here. Do you do anything else outside of this for, to look after your own mental health? Do you have people you deal with, or there's a coaches you use or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I've had a coach that I've been working with down in Melbourne. He was a country boy as well. And I've been working with him on and off for years. I've had econ coaches along the way. So I love being coached, because there's something special about when you build a relationship with a coach and the eyes that they can see, from the outside in, is just so valuable. I don't know how many times, I've just reached out to Clive and I've gone, I've got a situation at the moment and I need the outside eyes in. So not always we connect, but, maybe every 3 months or just when we need.
Yeah.
He knows the business well. He knows us well now, that I can at least reach out to them. And we're changing staff over. I can reach out to someone locally now to help us to onboard staff. So I just don't have to take on all this responsibility myself. And that's where you've got to start to put your boundaries in and push back, because people don't come to me with a problem without a potential solution, because you're running that particular part of the business. Tell me how I can solve it, and then we'll banter about it from there. So when I started taking on everybody's problems, trying to solve everyone's problems, I just realised the load was too much.
Yeah.
And that's part of your mental health as well. So I do a bit of a juggle between working from home and down in the business as well. So that's good for my mental health as well, because I can just go outside and have a cup of tea on my own and think.
Isn't it amazing what that 10 to 15 minutes of quiet time is?
Yeah, for sure.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
What's some of the things that people don't see behind GF Oats? What are some of the things that people wouldn't realise that you do, good, bad or indifferent, so to make the world go forward?
I don't think that I don't talk much about, the people who come to me and ask for advice, and I'm like mentoring in a small way, not large ways. Nobody really knows that. I haven't advertised that I've got this Shopify group. I've just slowly brought a few people together and gone, would this interest you? And see where it lands. They probably don't know some of the fundraising that we do and the donations that we give along the way. We're always looking for opportunities like that, because part of building a business is giving back.
And I have a funny one. I find it helps you sleep better.
Yeah, it
So
does.
a lot of the sponsorship we do, our logo's on nothing.
Yeah.
We just go, look, it's all right. We'll give you a hand. Just don't need to tell anyone, because I find I can go home and just go, I've done something good today.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I think there's a lot of that sort of development. I'm always looking at ways to improve customer experience, give them more products that they want. Probably that's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
So now we're on to our little section called The Hard Way. There's nothing simple about small business. You got a line in here that said mistakes that become fuel. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, when I find I make a mistake, I look at it and go, okay, how did we make that mistake? How can we not make that mistake again? And what's the opportunity that we can take from here? So one of the things I used to get really caught up about was, oh my gosh, we've lost money here and we've lost money there, and I would find that it was eating me away at me to a point where I was going, oh, I'm finding it hard to function here. And you fall back into that negative trap and focusing on the negative. And now there's a mistake and we might have a few swear words and we might do some deep breaths and even have 24 hours in a gin to think about it. But then I just go, well, we don't have a crystal ball.
No.
We've got to move forward. We actually can't change what's happened here. So it's time to move forward.
What do you reckon your hardest lesson's been?
The hardest lesson is not focusing on the numbers. I'm not really a numbers girl, and I love all the marketing and the PR and all the products and the fun bit. The hardest lesson is procrastinating about doing your figures and about knowing where your money comes from.
Knowing your real number.
And knowing your real number. So that's the hardest lesson, because as I'd gone on and on and on, I started to go, where's the money coming from? Where's the profit coming from? How much do I have to sell to get another employee? Like all these questions. And I went, I have to dig in and learn this.
And that's one thing is really hard to teach, is that just because you sell $100 worth of this doesn't mean you made $100.
That's right.
It might be $10. It might be $2, depending on what the cost it is to make. Is there anything that everyone had talked about different ways on trusting instincts and those sorts of things? What's yours? Is it your gut? Is there something in you that goes, this is the right decision?
Good question. There's several faculties that people have as strengths, and mine is intuition. And I don't know why, but often I say to people, and I often say to Gary, please don't think I just know everything, but I just know, don't do this, do that. Sometimes it's just a gut instinct, and then it becomes a gut instinct on it can be just a full physical reaction. No, we cannot do that particular pathway or make that decision there. It's got to be this way. And, generally, it took me a long time to trust that. Another mistake was I'd second guess myself all the time. But I really think we need to do that. Really think we need to do Amazon. And people would be pushing back and I'd have to settle back into it and go, okay, do I really think that's the way to go? Because someone's got to call it at the end of the day. Are we or aren't we? And generally, if I'm in tune with it, which I am now because I trust my decisions a lot more, do I make mistakes still? Yes. But generally the mistake will become an opportunity anyway.
Do you find that your first intuition, even though you don't
the
first one is the one?
Yeah, that's always the way to go. The first offer in your house is generally what you should sell for.
Absolutely. So next question. If you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, who's fresh out of boarding school, heading to be a teacher, what would you tell her?
Well, to believe in herself more. I was living in a bubble for 12 years. I was very fearful back then. And I didn't probably have a lot of self-worth because, I was brought up by nuns, essentially. A few years in, I, started to feel a lot more comfortable about myself. I started to become sassy. I got jobs, where probably no one else would get a job. I'd say I could do things and I couldn't, and I just learned really fast. So by the time they work out she couldn't actually pour a beer, they'd already employed me. And then they went, oh, she can do it anyway. So I can learn really fast. I would say to her, just be kinder to yourself. We don't think too far ahead, don't plan too far ahead. I was a bit like Joe. I'd like to plan everything out, and if it didn't happen the way I'd planned it to happen, I'd almost panic, and go, but that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not the plan. And don't be afraid of learning new things. I think as I came across different things, I'd feel as though I'd freeze. So as I've gone through and learnt business, I've become more open to, right, I need to know about money. Go and do a course. I need to learn about PR. Go and do a course. So,
you think she'd listen?
Oh, I don't know. Probably not, knowing her.
So if you're talking to someone who's going to go into business for themselves for the first time, and you want to give them a solid piece of advice or something that they can take home, what would you say to someone who's just starting out to go and work for themselves?
A couple of different things. Get a mentor straight out of the gates, because that was one of the best things I'd do. Know your numbers, and then work out where your strengths and where your weaknesses are, and what are the first jobs that you're going to start to outsource, because that's the direction that you need to go. For me, it was, okay, I've got to outsource my bookkeeping. That's not my strength, but I need to know that I'm compliant. So I would just focus on that straight up. So they're the three simple things I'd say to people when you're starting business, is get your backyard and your foundations right. Because, I'd find I'd be here and then I'd go back to the foundation there and back, like chasing the bright, shiny objects.
Oh, it's hard because it's not very exciting. I'm a sales guy. That stuff there, I'm like, I got it. And
I know.
It's in only the last 5 years I've learned to really understand my numbers.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm 100% with you.
And we learn to hire people that can do the jobs that we don't find fun. Yep. So if I want a spreadsheet or something like that, I've got someone who will deliver it, and it'll be in colour and it'll be pretty pictures, just the way I like it.
Well, now we're on to the book of questions. Oh. So Chrissy Leminsky's left you a question here, and you get to read it out, and then you get to answer it. Then you get to write your answer, your next question in after that.
Right. Okay. So.
Over here.
Here.
If you're from around here, chances are you've had something embroidered, print or pressed by us. And if you haven't, come look us up.
What is your best trick or tip to boost your mental health? Well, my love language is time spent with people, quality time. And the best way that I could fuel my tank is to go and have dinner with friends, to go and meet up with a friend, have a cup of tea, have a glass of wine. that's the absolute best thing I can do for my mental health, is just grab that time out. And the other thing is just go for a walk. I love to walk at the end of the day. I'm better. I'm not a great morning person. I just can walk it out. And I think by myself, often solve the problems.
It's amazing when you can breathe and then just look at it, how the answer turns up and slaps you straight in the face.
Correct, yeah. Give yourself that space. Find things that give you joy and do that. You've got to identify it. I think we get so wound up in our own world, we forget, I used to like sewing or crocheting or whatever it is. Go and do that if that just is that mindful thing that gives you joy.
Wonderful. Now you got to write your question. Yep. Don't forget to write your name and then write your question.
That's right. But where's my question? Oh, yeah, I know what my question was. I nearly forgot. It's one that I want to hear the answer to.
Well, we'll find out who's next and we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
So, well, that's nearly it. So what's next for, we know about Amazon now, so what's next for you?
Well, next for us happens to be export because of, the tariffs that America have now. The opportunity, Australian products are generally very expensive, to the rest of the world. However, now the tariffs have provided us an opportunity because our product is not quite as expensive as what the other ones. So we've closed that gap.
Yep.
So the opportunity is definitely into some of those Asian markets who are really coming up with looking for foods in that free-from industry because they've changed over their products. Like they've started using a lot more packaged food, which has got a lot more chemicals in it.
Everything in it.
That's right. And the Asian metabolism is not coping with that at all. So really in one generation, as opposed to us Caucasians who've been munching on packaged food for ages, and we are suffering health-wise, but they're looking for supreme products. They are looking for top range. They've got a lot more people with a lot of money to spend, and they are looking for the organic. So this is outselling our other products now, where we haven't seen that before, and overseas just want Australian grown. They want organic. So that's definitely an area we're looking at. I'm digging down and consolidating a bit because I brought in new products that we're about to launch again this summer. And I've got Amazon where I'm looking at this first quarter and going, this is where our groundwork is. But this 6 months now is our largest sales period of the year.
Yep.
And then we go into, in about October, November, we start to go, what do we implement for next year? So we know exactly what we're doing when we come back in January. We're implementing this, and by March we start our season again.
Fantastic. So now you get to look at the camera over there and tell them where to find GF Oats.
So GF Oats you can find anywhere around the stores nationally except the supermarkets, so Whole Foods and Health Foods, and of course online, gfoats.com.au.
And don't forget to look up her social media, it's there as well.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're looking for The Hard Way, because that's us just about done, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify and Apple. Just search The Hard Way by Graham Strang and you can find me.
Thank you.
I think we're done.
Thank you for having me.
It's been fantastic. Thank you very much.